For those of you who may have just woken up from a nap, I'm jealous by the way, I went straight onto our YouTube channel. No, you haven't slept for a few years and missed Goat Simulator 2. Goat Simulator 3, the brand new game from the guys at Coffee Stain, just comes to show once more that they really do not take themselves that serious. It skipped number 2 entirely, because why not? But despite that, it is still guaranteed to give you just as much, if not even more, fun than its predecessor. We put a lot of money and effort into research about different numbers and what works best, and the results we got back is that 3 is a lot better number than 2, so that is why we went with 3. Creative director at Coffee Stain North, Santiago Ferrero, explained during Gamescom in the deadpan manner that has become the studio's trademark. The announcement for the upcoming Goat Simulator 3 was made on Twitter on the 28th of July 2022, with a 1-minute trailer specific in the game's crazy and chaotic style. The release date was revealed to be the 17th of November 2022, so it's not long until we can all unleash the chaos and turn the world upside down as goats. As Dolly Parton once said, it costs a lot of money to look this cheap. Likewise, making an intentionally janky game seems trickier than it looks. Working on the sequel to 2014's diversely meme-rich Goat Simulator, Stockholm-based studio Coffee Stain North has made a fine art out of looking shambolic. If you missed it back then, the premise of the sim is simple. You inhabit the least accurately simulated animal ever, causing utter chaos in a sandbox world with literally no objectives, earning points along the way for damaging things, performing Tony Hawk-style tricks and licking stuff. Yep, you heard that right, licking stuff. Sometimes the ghosts ride around with a jetpack, sometimes it gets abducted by aliens, sometimes it becomes evil and sacrifices a fellow goat on a fiery pentagram. It's dumb, it makes no sense, and that's the point. So, how do you follow it up with something substantial? Santiago Ferrero, the game's creative director, has explained that it is harder than you think. He compared making a buggy and stupid game to making bedhead hair. It would look like you just stepped out of bed, but in reality, you've spent way too much time in front of the mirror. Same goes for games like Goat Simulator 3. For the last 5 years, Ferrero and the team have been working through the dilemma. Goat Simulator started off as a viral video game jam experiment in 2014, acting both as a parody of the simulator craze at the time, while also working as a surprisingly fun and hilarious game on its own right. But now it is an expansive world, with more to do for the person holding a controller and a proper beginning and end. It's also got online multiplayer, something which, despite its social media popularity, the first game didn't have. Now friends can roam remotely as a herd of 4 customizable goats. As the company explained, their philosophy has always been that multiplayer enhances everything they add to a single-player experience. But simulating 4 goats online, with all the destruction and physics simulation that entails, has been trickier than what Coffee Stain thought it would be. Still, they rose to the challenge. So, what will these goats do together? Your squad can start up one of these 7 different minigames, anywhere and anytime, with varying consequences. For example, if you start a round of hoofball, think Rocket League with goats instead of cars for that one, and you do this in the middle of a street, then you might also get run over mid-match. Coffee Stain has tried to make the goats as dynamic as possible so that they'll be able to adapt to all sorts of locations, but some of them are less optimal or even buggy, which will also be part of the fun. Remember, Goat Simulator is not a game that you play for the graphics or how smooth it runs. On the bright side, all these different goats with their own different gear will make for endless variations and chaos in multiplayer. Goat Simulator 3 brings in a lot of new and some of the old gameplay features. So, let's have a look at them. As we've mentioned earlier, everything Pilgor, that's the goat's name by the way, does in single player can also be enjoyed with up to 4 friends in local co-op or online. While the original game supported only couch co-op, the sequel features a dedicated online multiplayer component. The developers have also been ever so kind to add 7 minigames that can be enjoyed in multiplayer. King of the Hill, stay inside the castle to gain crowns. The player with the most crowns wins. The floor is lava. Don't touch the lava, use your parkour skills and climb as high as possible to escape the rising lava. Last one alive wins. Car derby, drive into the rear for the player vehicles to explode their bombs. Last player alive wins. Prop hunt, classic hide and seek. If you're a seeker, find the other players by headbutting stuff. To hide, you lick your desired prop, move around and hiding to gain extra points. Head splat, use your headbutt to paint the world. You get a point for each painted thing. Hoofball, get the ball into your goal to score points. The player with the most points wins. You know, like normal football. Prop golf, get your prop to the flag ASAP. First player to reach the flag wins. There are special areas around the island where you can unlock each minigame, but once you unlock a minigame, you can then play it anytime and anywhere you want. Either give you and your friends a worthy challenge or activate the minigame in the most ridiculous, inappropriate or silly settings possible just for the giggles and lols. These will put your goat skills to the test in different ways. If a round is not going in your favor, you might want to equip gear that'll give you the upper hand. Role-playing as a goat is the crux of Goat Simulator 3, and the developers wanted players to be able to really embody their protagonist in as many fabulous forms as possible. The game features over 350 customization items designed to delight and, of course, offend. Want to wield an electrified sword as a ghost in stilettos? Shoot laser beams from your eyes? Fancy grinding across San Angora wearing toilet paper for shoes and balancing a tea set on your back? Don't worry, coffee stains got your back. Don't want to be a goat? Firstly, we're shocked that you've made it this far into the video and you don't want to be a goat, but fear not, we're not judging. You may be pleasantly surprised to hear that in the world of Goat Simulator 3, goats come in all shapes and sizes. From tall goats, known in some circles as giraffes, to angry goats, also known as rhinos, and even banana-shaped ghosts. Yup, it's bananas. Regardless of how many rocket launchers you decide to pack on your goat's back, cause you know, you can never have enough rocket launchers, it is important to not forget about the game's goal. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, but the game does have a goal indeed. And your mission is to discover all the creative ways that you can cause chaos. In Goat Simulator 3, you have your own goat castle, which you can upgrade by completing certain goals and achievements related to messing things up. These quests pop up in the game as you progress, such as headbutting items or planting trees. Then, after completing enough of these quests or achievements, you can unlock the next section of your goat castle. Story mode. Yes, it has a story. Rather than being a pure sandbox experience that's exclusively designed to facilitate mayhem, Goat Simulator 3 has a story mode. It's not exactly aiming for prestigious storytelling here, but it's there to serve as a sort of general guide to weave all of the individual instances of absurdity together. To progress the story, you essentially visit Ubisoft open world style towers that are sporadically dotted across the map, each of which will aid you in unlocking an imposing and mysterious door that leads all the way to the goat castle. What lies beyond is anyone's guess, but odds are it's pretty wild. The main story obviously isn't overly demanding. An enormous part of Goat Simulator 3 appeal is in the fact that it generally asks very little of you, leaving you to your own devices more often than not. But the scale of this style of play has also been expanded and iterated upon. Ultimately, Goat Simulator 3 is probably exactly what you think it is. It's more a polished version of the first game with tons of new features, most of which have clearly come from carefully observing the elements of the original that resonated with people. The mobility is a little tighter, the sandbox is a little more responsive, and the random achievements have a little more rhyme and reason to them. But ultimately, it's still a very silly game about a really annoying goat. That's a pretty low ceiling for how serious this can be. There are a lot of self-consciously wacky gags in Goat Simulator, and players love it. People are keen to leave seriousness at the door and embrace the silliness. You can count on the sequel being packed with sideways jokes, ridiculous customization options, and unpredictable outcomes, and when it gets into people's hands, it will really fulfill its potential for really dumb stuff. If the original game was a jagged rock, Goat Simulator 3 is the product of what happens when you mine that rock for gems and embed them in something nicer to look at. It's not a diamond necklace, but it's kind of like, what would it be like? A smooth panel of granite with a couple of rocks that look like diamonds, interspersed throughout. Yeah, that sounds good. I know what it's aiming for, and it's very good at staying true to that. Will you be getting Goat Simulator 3 when it releases on the 17th of November? What is the element you're most looking forward to? The story mode or the online multiplayer? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you're notified every time we post a new video. Or the goats will patch you.